This case was previously a DCF case. We had entered our appearance on this on July of 2024, but Megan had contacted DCF to make sure she could switch from DCF to the court trustee in order to pursue a contempt. They, I think, verbally advised her that she could switch, but I do not see that they had filed anything with the court. But at this point, I think we are good to go forward. Obviously, all parties of record get notice, but that's where we're at with that. I just wanted to make that announcement.
I show your entry of appearance on July 19th of 2024. The affidavit and motion for contempt, August 26th of 2024. The sheriff's return. They had no service, sent it out again. And we got a return on it, that they were able to serve the defendant on September 30th. And the defendant does appear here today. So, Mr. Jeffrey Brown, any objection to the process?
No.
Okay. Ms. Grabby, as per your motion for contempt, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to give a little history on this case. Normally, obviously, our office does not file contempts when we have a payor making payments. But in this case, we have some special circumstances, and we have a custodial parent who is considering using state resources for medical assistance and potentially for income-based housing. This child also has some special medical needs. My understanding is there is a brain condition, a brain disease that requires additional medical that has to be spent. This case, when I looked through it, the last order modifying support was in February of 2023. And you had already issued income withholding orders on this for the current amounts due, which is $1,372 per month, along with an arrears amount. So there's a good IWO with current and arrears, and you had $411 for the arrears amount. That was issued both in May and in June of this year. But at this point, we don't have an employer. I believe the payor used to be in the oil field. I don't know if he is still in the oil field. The last employer we had notified us he was no longer there. So if there is a good employer to send an income withholding order, that's what we would prefer to do. But the issue is, I think that we really don't have regular payments being made. And that has been an issue, it looks like, for a couple of years. Just for some history, I have in August, we had around $1,100 paid. In September, we had around $1,100 paid. In October, so far, we've got $527. And there's 2 months in 2024 where we had no payments, 2 months that were only $400. We had 1 month with $100. So I think it's a little bit sporadic, and it's difficult for Ms. Brown to obviously budget and support the child based on that. So we're really looking for something, hopefully an employer we can send an income withholding order to, so we can start getting those regular payments. But in the absence of an employer, in order to make those payments in full, on time, and to address the arrears per the IWO you've already issued.
Mr. Brown.
Yes. Okay. Now on all these here, I still was employed at Murphy Drilling through over 3.5 years at Murphy Drilling. I can't control when and where that rig works, and the rig has been down, but I got documents all right here of every page stub this whole year. The only 1 month that was missing, and that was in June when the rig was down. We don't get paid when the rig's down. I have earnings of $15,000 this year. And for $1,782 coming out in child support, that's more than my checks would be. That's more than I made for the year. I did fill in while the rig was down at this place called TMAC, but they only wanted me to fill in for a period of time. So I have 3 paycheck stubs here, and I had told them right away about garnishments on that, so. I have all the documents of where I worked at and paycheck stubs for it all. It's just the rig has not been working, so therefore I can't make the payment in full for that amount. And my son has been living with me pretty much all summer, and he moved in full time last week.
Mr. Brown, have you notified anyone of your decrease in employment?
No, I have not. I didn't know.
And that's a problem, because if nobody knows you're earning less, nobody knows that you're unable to make your payments, and your payments are due each and every month.
Mhm.
Okay. So you got to communicate.
Okay. Now, who we get a hold of to do
Well,
that?
you're gonna
Okay,
need to get a hold of Miss Grabby.
Ms. Gray. Okay,
You're gonna need to get her all of your payment stubs.
okay,
Okay, you're gonna have to get her at least your last 2 years of your taxes, your tax return, so that she can see your last 2 years plus your pay stubs this year.
okay.
Then you're gonna need to file a motion if you want reconsideration of your child support obligation. Because as of now, you're ordered to pay the full amount each month, and that's causing you a great arrearage. Okay,
So yeah, I can get her address and stuff and get this sent off to her, a copy of all this. And the rig has been so unsteady that I did switch jobs first time here. So I had just left Murthman this week and I started at Mudco. I got an address here if you would like it. It is a 100 South Main Suite 310, Wichita, Kansas 67202. And a phone number for them is 316-264-2314 or 2814, sorry.
And MUD is MUD, right? MUD.
Yeah, MUD-CO.
Yep. So I'll send that income withholding out to that employer as well, and then I can send him some documents with regard to letting you know, Jeffrey, what we would need to take a look. Which Judge kind of already said, but there's a couple documents you have to fill out. I would be interested in hearing from Ms. Brown, because if we also have a custody issue, obviously our office does not do that. So,
Are you wanting me to talk about that, Julie?
Judge, is it okay if I question her about that?
yes,
Okay, so I assume what Jeffrey was talking about was Trenton.
Yeah, he's the
Okay.
oldest. He'll turn 18 in July.
Okay, so Trenton is turning 18. Is he still going to high school?
Yeah, and VOTEC.
Okay. High school and VOTEC. So has he graduated high school?
No, he's doing
dual
NCAA
program.
dual program. Yeah.
Got it.
Oh.
So he will be graduating high school in May of 2025.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. So if we do not have an extension on that, Judge, I would also probably file an extension for that. But what is your, you obviously heard the testimony of Mr. Brown. Is that, do you agree that that is the custody arrangement?
What do you mean?
It's not the custody arrangement, but we kind of just let him go back and forth kind of like at his free will, because he's been staying up, like working on during the week, and so he'll want to go home and see his dad, and I've never denied him from letting him go visit his dad for a few days. Or he just brought up to me that he wants to spend like a week with his dad and then a week with me, and to go back and forth. But that's all. I mean,
That's,
Hang on, Mr. Brown, you can't speak over the witness, okay? We're recording this.
I'm sorry.
We can only have one person talking at a time, or it's very hard to make a transcript of it if that becomes necessary.
Yes, sir.
So wait till Miss Grabby finishes her discussion with Miss Brown. Now, all of this so far is informal. Nobody is under oath yet. So if you need me to place her under oath, we can do that.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and do it, Judge.
Okay. Miss Megan Brown, would you raise your right hand, please? You solemnly swear and or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, subject to the penalties for perjury in the state of Kansas.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And you're currently in the state of Kansas.
Correct.
Thank you. Go ahead, Miss Gravy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry, E-Flex just kind of kicked me out here, so I'm trying to get back in. What are your current custody orders by the court?
They are with me and then every other weekend with their dad. And then we do switch off holidays depending on like what year it is and what holiday.
Okay,
Those
and
are-
you had indicated that right now, since he's almost 18, basically he goes back and forth and is basically splitting time with both of you.
Yeah, pretty much. We kind of like, it was kind of agreed upon, you know, that he could just go back and forth. He drive, you know, since he drives now, and when he's not working, he does like to go see his dad. And so it's not like,
Would you guys say you're doing a shared custody functionally with Trenton?
I would say yes.
Just a minute, Mr. Brown. You'll get your opportunity. Hold on.
Because up and just till recently, he was at my house every day, except for on the weekends. He would leave like on Friday and come back on Sunday night or even
And now,
Yeah.
now he's expressing more of a wanting to do a week-to-week thing.
he told me week to week. I'm not sure what he's told his father.
Okay, and
He
I
has
will.
spent-
Yeah.
He has spent like the last couple of days he spent the night at his dad's.
How long has this been going on? Like, is this
Like
new?
a week, maybe two.
Okay,
Very new.
okay. The other child living with you as residential parent and going back and forth every other?
Every other weekend. And usually if she doesn't want to, he doesn't normally make her go. So she just stays with me.
And if, Mr. Brown wanted a modification based on his employment, do you have any objections to that?
Well, I mean, he owes a ton amount in back child support.
So that would not affect the back child support amount owed. I'm talking about just going forward. Do you have any objections to doing a modification going forward?
I don't,
Okay, I don't know is a perfectly fine answer. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
When was the last time it was modified? In 23?
Yeah, it was less than a year ago.
And the modification hasn't even been followed, so.
Do you feel like his employment situation has changed since December of 23?
I feel like it changes all the time.
Okay.
Like he doesn't work, and then with the rig, he does work, and then he doesn't work. So nothing's like ever steady, or like he started at this place for a little while, or he's worked for this farmer for a little while, or he's, you know, has changed a lot of. So it's hard to follow.
Okay.
And
Judge,
I would like,
I think that's all I have for her. If I could maybe ask Mr. Brown some follow-up questions.
Hey, just a minute. Mr. Jeffrey Brown, do you have any questions of Miss Megan Brown?
I don't know what I can really say on this.
I'm asking you if you have questions of her first.
Okay, not anything that I can discuss with Miss Gravy here on. No, I don't with Megan right this moment that
Okay,
I can think of.
then Mr. Jeffrey Brown, if you'll raise your right hand. Subject to the penalties for perjury in the state of Kansas.
Yes, sir.
And it looks like you're in the courthouse here.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Miss Gravy.
Okay, Mr. Brown, I just have a couple questions about what we already talked about. So, the first one, you agree that, Trenton's not gonna graduate till May of 2025?
Yes,
Okay, and we talked a little bit about custody. Would you agree that the, custody orders that the court put in place are as what Ms. Brown said, that it's residential with her, but he goes back and forth every weekend per the orders? That's what they say?
the orders is,
Okay, and tell me your perspective on what is occurring now.
okay. Trenton has been pretty much from all this year, every weekend, he's at my house. And if he don't have school, he's at my house. And he wants to live full-time at my house and go to Hayes to school. And he comes home, the only time he'll stay at his mom's is if he has to go to work that night, where he ain't driving late at night to drive all the way back home. And he's been doing this all year, and I had him all summer long. And Michaela had talked about doing week on, week off shared custody, so that way she could stay between both parents' house and still go to school there in Hayes.
So you're saying for the last year, he's been at your house more than every weekend?
Pretty much. Very seldom does he stay at his mom's
Where does he go to school?
in Hayes.
Are you in Waukene?
Yeah,
So on school nights, he's at your house?
yes. He has been here.
So most weeks during the last year for school, he's been at your house, school nights?
No, just like she has said, he had just started that here last week, staying full time at my house. But throughout the summer, when no school was going on, and pretty much all weekends, every weekend, we have him. And I would come back and get him, or Michaela, or he would bring her. But then, now with I'm working in Hayes, we're leaving Trenton's vehicle here and we're transporting back and forth. So they will go to school in Hayes and finish their time out at Hayes.
Okay, so the during the week stuff during school, that's kind of a new thing the last week or two. It's kind of the same as Megan said. Okay, very good. All right. Other than Mudco, do you have any other employers right now?
No.
Okay.
She had mentioned Farman, T-Mac, and stuff like that. T-Mac was a fill-in when the rig was shut down. Oil is not very good right now, so there's not very many companies. And I've been doing this since I was 18 years old. So it is like it was in the 80s in the crash. But T-Mac was just something I filled in for when they had availability to do it. It wasn't a full-time job. It was just something to do that paid. And then
is Mudco full-time?
yes, Mudco's full-time and gonna be a career from here on out. As a truck driver.
Okay.
And the farming hasn't been there. I haven't farmed since 2020, 2021, somewhere in there.
And when, I think you said, but when did you say you're starting with Mudco? Was that
I started this week,
this week? Okay.
or the end of last week there, but
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions for Mr. Brown, Your Honor.
Hey, Miss Megan Brown, do you have any questions of Mr. Brown?
I don't think so, other than just Michaela's. I think she just says that she doesn't want to stay at his house. It's too far away, too far out in the country, to not be able to be with her friends in the evenings. Just that she expresses to me something different than she expresses to him, but she don't want to tell him to hurt his feelings, because she just tells me all the time, I don't want to go there.
Any other witnesses, Miss Gravy?
None, Your Honor.
Okay. Suggestion, Miss Gravy?
So, Your Honor, based on this, I'd like to issue that income withholding order to the new employer. Obviously, I can also send out an EVL and see what he's making, but I can send him modification paperwork. If the Mud Company Trucking is going to be the full-time plan from now on, that would be a little more steady. So I would like to start there. Obviously, if Mr. Brown gets oil field, if it starts up and he goes back into oil field, I would expect that he tried to make payments towards that 1372 with the arrears in there because we have a significant like 15K arrears amount. With regard to a modification, Your Honor, it seems like it's something I can do, but we have some custody questions, and obviously those modifications are based on where the children are living. It seems like both parties are in agreement that maybe we are sharing custody with Trenton because he's older and is able to kind of go back and forth. But as for Michaela, like at this point, our office's position is that we follow the court orders. And the court orders currently say residential, so we would probably do that based on a residential situation. Also, because this is kind of new with this week on stuff, I don't know what's going to happen with it. We can certainly take a look at it. I do see that this case gets modified about once a year. So, you know, we can do it. But it's obviously going to take us a little bit of time to get the documents from the parties. But in the meantime, I would really, I guess, request that if he can make some payments to make those. I know that it's, I think the purpose of my office, right, is to collect support for the child. The purpose of that is so that we do not have to place parents on any sort of public assistance sort of an issue. So if he can do that, I would prefer that happen.
Well, as I understand it, Trenton just turned 17 in July,
He did.
and he won't turn 18 until July of 2025.
It's July of 25. Okay.
After he graduates high school
Okay.
and trade school. Well, he'll probably still be in trade school.
Yeah.
But he'll graduate high school in May and he'll turn 18 in July.
Then we would not need an extension, Your Honor.
Right. Now, Michaela, it appears that she is 13
Yes.
and she'll be 14 here in next April.
Correct. Uh-huh.
Your Honor.
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
So they've got her in the wrong category. They've got her in 6 to 11 category. And she is 13. Mr. Brown.
Yes, sir. Okay, I was wondering if it's possible where we can get a hearing where Michaela can speak out instead of his or her saying through. That way Michaela can speak the truth and see what she wants to do.
Well, you're certainly entitled to file a motion, Mr.
Okay.
Brown, and that can come before the court.
Okay.
That would be easiest. Jeffrey is 17. Megan is 13. I'm sorry, not Megan. Michaela is 13. And they certainly can speak. They certainly can testify so that we can pin down what the custody arrangement is. But you're representing yourself, and it's incumbent upon you to file that motion if you want that heard. Okay. So if you're wanting to modify the parenting time or have the court make findings on what the parenting time is, you need to file that motion and get that before the court.
So can I
Now,
ask?
hang on just a second. Mr. Brown, without giving me the numbers, is what you're earning at Mudco comparable to what you were earning when you were full-time working in the oil patch?
Okay, Murphin, we were getting paid $28 an hour. They dropped our wages down to $26 an hour, but then they weren't working, you know, throughout this whole time. So Mudco is $23 an hour. So it's the best thing I can get closest to it. When I was filling in at TMAC, I was only making $19 an hour.
Okay. And Mudco, you've indicated is full-time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what documents are you wanting, Ms. Grabby, to verify?
We'll have to send the modification paperwork. So we're gonna send a DRA, we're gonna send the cover sheet, we're gonna ask for last 3 paycheck stubs, we're gonna ask for 2 years tax return, same thing we do on mods for everybody.
Right. And you'll be doing that with both Mr.
Yeah.
Brown and Miss Brown?
Yeah.
Okay, that's coming.
Perfect.
So if either party wishes the court to consider either the testimony of the kids or where the kids are actually staying for purposes of child support, that motion needs to get in front of the court. Okay,
Judge, can I ask a question?
sure.
So as of right now, though, child support until that is done is still at the current amount of the 1370.
It is at the amount until we have a motion filed. Once the motion's filed and we have a hearing, we can go back to the time of the motion.
Okay.
But there being no motion before the court, the child support is
Right.
still the 1372 as of this time.
Okay, that was my question.
Right.
Your Honor.
That will continue on unless and until there's a motion before the court to modify. Mr. Brown.
Where do I go to get a motion filed at?
Well,
I could do it right here in the courthouse, right?
you can look at the Kansas Judicial
Website.
Kansas Judicial website, and they have pro se forms. Council, that's the word I was looking for, Kansas Judicial Council. So Kansas Judicial Council has some pro se forms that you can look at.
Your Honor, if that does get filed, how would you prefer to do it? Our office typically doesn't get involved in custody matters. Is that a hearing you would have ahead of time, make a determination, and then we would figure child support based on that?
Well, obviously, we have to know what the situation is as to whether or not the child support has a modification based on a joint residency situation. So I suspect if that happens, that these are both happening simultaneously, or should happen fairly simultaneously. And we'll have to decide where the kids are staying in order to calculate the child support. So if the parties have agreement on what the actual custody is, as far as where the children are staying, what percentage of time, and if you two agree, that can be given to Ms. Grabby. She can then prepare the proposed child support worksheet and show it to the two of you. If you are agreeable, that's fine. If not, we can have a court hearing.
Oh, Judge, so then he may not have to file that pro se order.
No,
is
he'll
that right?
still need to file the motion or it won't be before the court. Yeah.
Okay,
But part of the questionnaire that you're receiving from Ms. Grabby is where do the children stay, what percent of the time? Okay,
okay,
and you've got 117 and 113. I'm sure she'll want to say and a half. So, so you've got one just about to turn 14. Okay. So if the parties are in agreement with that, so be it. If you're not, make sure you get that on file, Mr. Brown, and we'll
Okay.
look at all of it.
I got one other question.
But to answer Ms. Grabby's, you can certainly sit in, Ms. Grabby, while we decide that. You don't have to, but if you sit in and hear the answer, then you can calculate your child support. Yes, Mr. Brown.
Okay, I didn't know if I could possibly find out exactly kind of where the child support split between the two kids for the amount. What is Trenton's and what is Michaela's?
Yeah, I can go over the worksheet with you.
Okay,
You can go over the worksheet with you. I've got it in front of me. Basically, right now, it's based on Michaela being 6 to 11 years of age, and that's 737. And Trenton, 12 to 18 being 784. But then there's some deductions that come out of that, which take it down to the 1372.
Okay, well, since it's the wrong on the age, 6 to 11, and she's 13, that's 2 years that it's been wrong. What does that
Well,
do?
I'm not saying 2 years it's wrong. I'm saying it's based on that because this was done in 2022.
Okay,
She
yeah,
was 11. She
okay,
jumped to 12 shortly after the worksheet.
understood.
Again, it was not brought to the court's attention, so nothing has changed.
Okay.
So,
Jeffrey, I'll have my assistant give you a call to schedule time. Megan, do you want me to do the same?
Yeah. That's
Okay. So I can answer any questions that I can answer for you guys and kind of, I can go through the worksheets with you, explain kind of the process a little more.
fine. Okay, sounds great.
okay.
Miss Gabby, do you have my number where they can contact me?
I have a number. I don't know if it's the right
What
number.
what I will do, we're about to wrap up. I'll jump off, but you guys don't.
Okay,
Stay on. Once I jump off, we'll stop broadcasting. And then you can give Miss Grabby that contact information without broadcasting it out, okay?
thank you.
And that way everybody has everybody's numbers, both phone number and emails. So that you can get the paperwork back and forth, okay?
Okay.
Anything else for today's hearing? Ms.
Nothing for me, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Mr. Brown, you understand that your obligation is still in place unless and until you file a motion and the court changes that child support obligation.
Yes,
Okay. And Ms. Grabby, you'll do the order?
I'll do the order, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm gonna jump off and then you guys can exchange your information, okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you all.
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Remember, put the needs of those kiddos first in your discussions back and forth, okay?
Sure,
Thank you.
perfect.
Thank you.